In the fight against climate change, one of the biggest contributors is the construction industry. According to a United Nations study, it accounts for a staggering 37% of global emissions. In New Haven, Connecticut, one developer has a blueprint for limiting the carbon footprint of his buildings, including a first of its kind in the hospitality industry. Not many hotel developers would start the tour on the roof.
Well, this is where it begins, because this is how we're making power with just the sun.
You might call architect Bruce Redmond Becker a proud papa, eager to shine light on his new baby, the Hotel Marcel, and the power behind it.
Well, you install them, and they make power for 25 years or more.
There are more than 1,000 solar panels covering the roof and parking canopies below.
It defines the future of sustainable hospitality.
The building was designed by one of Becker's heroes, Marcel Breuer, the architect behind the UNESCO headquarters in Paris and the Whitney Museum in New York. From 1970 to 1999, it served as headquarters for a rubber company and later a tire manufacturer, but then sat vacant for 2 decades. In 2020, Becker bought it for just over $1 million.
It was twice voted the ugliest building in Connecticut, but at the same time, folks that are passionate about brutalist architecture saw it as this iconic building. People were coming from Europe to look at it because it really is a very cool building. It's like a piece of modern art that sort of is suspended in the sky. And so I passed by it and thought there has to be a solution to remake this building in a way that honors its architectural legacy, but also sort of brings it into the future.
Recycling existing structures has been on his punch list for more than a decade. In Hartford and New York, Becker transformed historic buildings into apartment complexes. Compared to new construction, conversions cut carbon emissions by 50 to 70%.
You know, architects love to play with their houses, right?
His home in Westport, Connecticut was his testing ground.
I got rid of my gas hot water heater and I put in a air source heat pump hot water heater. And I even put in about 64 solar panels.
At a cost of about $60,000. But thanks to a 30% tax credit, he says it paid for itself in 4 years.
And then Hotel Marcel came out of this.
It took more than 2 years and $30 million, but Hotel Marcel opened its doors in 2022. It's now part of Hilton's Tapestry collection. Not many hotels open to the interstate.
No. No, that's a building we inherited.
Ben Webster is general manager.
We have found that we are now attracting a lot of organizations and conferences because of our sustainability initiatives, where they can host these kind of zero waste, zero emission meetings and events.
Under the Energy Department's new criteria, a zero emissions building must be energy efficient, free of on-site emissions from energy use, and powered solely by clean energy. The goal is to reduce greenhouse gases by 65% in the next decade and 90% by the year 2050. The Marcel is the only hotel in the U.S. to earn the Energy Department's Platinum rating. That's not gas?
No, ma'am. Completely electric powered.
Chef Megan Gill's kitchen is fully sustainable.
I think it's really our focus on our day-to-day efforts and how we move differently throughout the space.
Which includes composting and repurposing food waste.
And then other things like watching our water usage, maintaining a radius of 250 miles from where we buy food from to eliminate our carbon footprint.
On the outside, triple glazed windows reduce noise and improve insulation.
This is our latest innovation.
And in the laundry room,
the laundry energy is the biggest single component of energy use and typically carbon footprint for most hotels.
A first of its kind innovation in the U.S.
This is a heat pump hot water heater, which makes cold air. It actually pulls the heat out of the air and puts it in the hot water. So we basically get free hot water, and we also cool the room at the same time.
But the game changer fueling it all.
And this is sort of the hub of energy for the whole hotel.
the Hotel Marcel's microgrid.
It's a really smart way to power a building.
With inverters that switch between solar and battery power on demand.
On a summer day in the middle of the day, we actually export power to the grid from our solar panels. We also have batteries that we can pull power from, and that allows us to operate off-grid and also sell power back to the utility when there's a peak demand for the system.
On overcast days like this one, the hotel also draws on renewable green energy from the public utility.
The orange is actually the load of the buildings.
Becker tracks that usage from his phone.
So right now we're getting a combination of power from the utility, from the solar.
Hoping to negotiate more space for solar in the parking lot, which he says would wean the hotel from that dependence.
This is a very easily replicable approach to making hotels and commercial buildings that don't contribute to the climate change problem that we have.
Becker believes the Hotel Marcel can be a model, moving the hospitality industry into a greener future.
Sounds like we have to build on what we already have.
Absolutely. I mean, history is a big part of what we have to think about going forward, because that really defines our identity. You know, if we don't think about where we came from and what that means, you know, we're sort of lost. And I think our challenge is to build on the past, but in ways that make for a brighter future.
You know, hospitality accounts for about 1% of global carbon emissions, and he says this could really put a dent in, the greenhouse gas impact if just the hospitality industry jumps into this wholeheartedly.
Is it money and the idea that people want to build their own thing and they don't want to sit on an existing footprint?
Probably a combination of both, but just sort of recapturing the notion of taking what's old and making it new again.
Right.
Instead of just building something
Yeah.
completely new. All right.